Welcome back to AM Agenda. Our panel now, Labor MP Ed Husic and Liberal MP Josh Frydenberg. Josh, Frydenberg in Melbourne, to you first on the debt ceiling crisis. It's been averted. As we heard there, though, the analysis from the economist Craig James before the break is that, of course, Asia, China, so much more important, but of course, the flow-on effects of the United States still significant.
Absolutely, Kieran. I mean, I think the first point is that it is in Australia's long-term economic and strategic interests that the US economy is strong. It is still the world's largest economy. It's a source of innovation. It's a great trading and investment partner for Australia. So we want to see the US economy strong, and that's why we welcome this aversion of this debt crisis. I think the second point is one of the great US presidents, Ronald Reagan, said of the Democrats' view of the economy that if it moves, they regulate it. If it keeps moving, they tax it. And if it stops moving, they subsidise it. And you could actually draw a similar comparison with the approach of the Labor Party here in Australia. And I think that's the real message out of all this, that you've got to live within your means. You've got to actually introduce policies that will enhance prosperity, that will encourage business and enterprise, not introduce the concept of sovereign risk, not introduce long-term debt and structural problems to the economy. And that's why we in the opposition are concerned about a carbon tax, a mining tax, re-regulation of the industrial relations area, and all these other concerns that are actually driving investors offshore. And we're seeing that play out in the economic figures. Not only we've got more than $100 billion of debt now, and given that John Howard left no government debt to his Labor successors, but the other point here is that consumer sentiment is down, housing approvals is down, manufacturing is down. We're seeing the savings ratio go up, Kieran, and that's all because people are lacking confidence.
Let's ask Ed Husic about that. Ed, is this US crisis a salient reminder about the need to keep the debt under control?
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously people would welcome the fact that there's a first step that's been put in place. There's been an initial resolution of this issue. I couldn't help but hear Josh talk about the importance of living within our means, and I noticed within...
You don't know about that, Ed.
Within the US history since 1960, the debt level's been raised about 78 times, and 49 of those times have been under Republican administrations. So George W. Bush, I think, added $6 trillion to national debt. So, yeah, I welcome Conservatives lecturing us about fiscal responsibility, especially when the Conservatives here in Australia took an $11 billion black hole to their election promises, couldn't find the money that they said they could to avoid having to put in a flood levy.
How much debt did we leave you, Ed? How much debt did we leave you?
Instantly he has to... The minute he gets confronted with fact, it gets uncomfortable. I love it.
Okay, I'll give you some fact, Ed. We've got $107 billion of debt. We actually paid off $96 billion of your debt, and now we've got $107 billion of new debt. Consumer confidence is at a low. Housing approvals at a low. Manufacturing is at a low. Savings are up. How do you explain that? Why are investors talking about sovereign risk?
Give Ed the chance to respond quickly. We're going to move on, Ed.
Well, yeah, since we're duelling stats at 20 paces, the fact of the matter is that we've got a budget that's about to go into surplus faster than any other nation. We've got unemployment that is, probably half of what it is in the US, and other countries are still envying the fact that we've got so many people in jobs and wondering how we've done so well. We had this thing called a GFC, Josh, I don't know if you noticed, which required us to intervene pretty dramatically in the economy to stop it collapsing, while you guys were telling us we should follow the New Zealand model.
Let's look at the other issues around now. Asylum seekers, Ed, apparently people smugglers telling potential asylum seekers that unaccompanied minors will be exempt under the Malaysia deal, that they won't be deported to Malaysia. This would be a disaster if that message got through.
Well, it demonstrates how desperate people smugglers are, knowing that we've put in place a model that is designed to effectively break what they're doing. And that is that they're trying to build false hope in people about, hopping onto a boat and getting here. I have to say my views on this issue were dramatically shifted as a result of participating in the joint Select Committee on the Christmas Island tragedy, and we got Kieran to go to Christmas Island, and I stood on those rocks where so many people perished and lost their lives in December last year. And my views on this are that no one should be enticed to get on boats, that people who are, basically in response or responsible for those vessels know that those vessels aren't seaworthy and putting people's lives at risk. And we do need to take some pretty tough stands in ensuring that people don't hop on those boats.
Yeah, but Ed, the question is, if people smugglers are propagating that message that unaccompanied minors are exempt, there is, the government has said it will be a case-by-case basis, so there will be circumstances where, indeed, there will be exemptions.
No, we're saying loud and clear that there will not be exemptions on this, that if people attempt to use this method to gain access to Australia, that there is a response to that, and we've said that.
But there will
be
case-by-case treatment of unaccompanied minors. That's what the Minister said.
Look, and there'll be elements of that, but the message loud and clear is that we're saying that if you take this method of gaining access to Australia, that you can expect that under the arrangements we've reached with Malaysia, that you will be finding yourself in Malaysia.
Okay, well, Josh, this is an example of people smugglers just saying what they like, isn't it? And they've done that, for their own purposes. They will say and do exactly what they like, regardless of the facts.
Look, Kieran, the issue here is that the government has absolutely no credibility. Its promises are not worth the paper that they're written on. On May the 7th, the government announced its policy and said that if anybody arrives in Australia unlawfully from that time, they will be sent overseas for processing. Well, 547 people did arrive, and now Chris Bowen is saying that those people are going to be processed in Australia. Now we have the people smugglers. The government tells us they're going to try to break the model of the people smugglers. Now we know that the people smugglers are going to try to break the government's model by sending unaccompanied minors. And the point is, if Ed wants to talk facts, the facts are there for everyone to see. More than 10,000 people have arrived to Australia unlawfully since you watered down John Howard's border protection policies. More than 200 boats. It's cost more than $3 billion, and now we've got the Malaysian solution in place of your East Timor solution that never happened, and your failure to pick up the phone to Nauru, who have the facilities ready to go. So look, they're the facts on the table. You built more detention beds than you built hospital beds, and the point is, this Malaysian solution is turning into be a farce, and a costly one at that.
There's a segue onto hospitals. I will use that, Josh. Yeah, the government and the Prime Minister announced that deal yesterday. State premiers, New South Wales, the New South Wales Premier, Liberal Premier, describes it as a great historic agreement. The Liberal Premier in Victoria says it's a positive outcome as well. Doesn't the federal coalition's criticism of this ring hollow, given your state colleagues are backing this so vigorously, this plan? And just quickly, if I can, we've only got a couple of minutes left.
Look, not at all. The point is, on health, this government's failed. Mental health, it was catch up. Private health insurance, it's cut support for that. It was threatening health research funding. It's got a failed record on health. Now we've got this proposal, which is a couple of years after Kevin Rudd said he was going to fix hospitals, and it's a shadow of the former policy.
But your state colleagues like it. Your state colleagues are backing it.
Well, they're saying that even this new money won't come in for a few more years. It's actually going to do nothing for people immediately, and that's the problem with this government. It keeps kicking its responses into the never-nevers. Kieran, you've got guarantees that whether it comes to elective surgery or emergency treatment, that have suddenly turned into targets, and incentive payments are now upfront payments. There's no federal control over the process anymore, and there's just more bureaucrats. So this is not the answer to our hospital system.
Ed Husic, as Josh pointed out there, the problem is with this deal is the comparison with the more ambitious Rudd plan.
No, we have now come to an arrangement with the states that will see benefits flow into the longer term, and we'll see us be able to do
after the next election.
Look, Josh, I mean, you keep interrupting. I certainly gave you the respect of being able to put out your lines. But certainly from our perspective, this is a great deal that will deliver historic reform. It's making sure that both sides of politics can reach an understanding about healthcare at federal and state level. Put all the hollering. The other great thing about this when you look at it in a context, put all the hollering aside and all the lines that we've just been given, the government is delivering in terms of health reform. Today, Steve Conroy is announcing more sites in terms of NBN. We've been able to put in place the arrangements in terms of the Malaysia solution. We are getting on with the job of governing, despite all these people saying minority government wouldn't see us be able to do anything, and we are delivering in a year the Prime Minister said we would do it.
All right, Ed Husic, Josh Frydenberg, gentlemen, appreciate your time as always. Thanks a lot. Have a good
Thanks,
day.
Ed. Thanks, Kieran.
That's all for AM Agenda. Thank you too for your company. And make sure you join David Lipson at 1:30 Eastern for Lunchtime Agenda. I'm Kieran Gilbert. Thanks for your company.